Reba looked at the two of them. They were young, beautiful, and completely incapable of functioning without her as the central axis of their world. So, where's the juice? Van's eyes went wide. Shoot. Can you watch Elizabeth while I run to the store to get the juice? Reba felt a dull throb start behind her left eye. It was the kind of headache that didn't just hurt. It whispered suggestions about running away to a cabin in the woods, where no one knew the word Mom. Oh, Van added, sensing her aura darkening. You might want to get some aspirin for yourself. You look a little twitchy. Chapter 2. The Digital Soulmate. Why do I need aspirin? Reba muttered to the empty kitchen 10 minutes later. She was elbow deep in dishwater, the sound of the television in the other room providing a frantic soundtrack to her life. Guys, will you please tell Miss 19th Century here that online dating is a great way to meet compatible men? Barbara Jean's voice drifted in from the living room, where she had cornered Cheyenne and Van. Reba dried her hands on a dish towel and walked into the lion's den. If the computer picks a man for me based on my interests, the only result is going to be a man who wants to be left alone in a quiet room with a glass of wine and a do not disturb sign on the door. At least take a look, Cheyenne pleaded, holding her laptop like a sacred relic. I mean, one of these guys could be your soulmate. Look at Steve. He's a mortician. He's stable. People are literally dying to see him. Or Greg, Van suggested, pointing at the screen. He's a prison guard. He knows how to handle tough crowds. That's a plus in this house. Or Jorge, Barbara Jean added, her eyes sparkling. He works at the zoo. Oh, that guy's a keeper. A zookeeper. Get it? Okay, yeah, Reba snapped, her patience finally fraying like an old rope. You know, maybe you should date him, Mom. It might put you in a better mood. Reba froze. It was Jake, her youngest, leaning against the doorframe with a smirk that was far too sophisticated for a boy his age. I've been a little cranky lately, Mrs. H., Van whispered, backing away slowly. Don't hit me. Reba sighed, the fight draining out of her. Did any of you ever stop to think that I wouldn't be so cranky if I didn't have 5 loads of laundry, a babysitting job, and a mountain of dishes to wash? I am a single mom who works too hard, who loves her kids, and never stops. But even a survivor needs a minute to breathe. There was a rare moment of silence. Even Barbara Jean looked chastened. Okay, look, Cheyenne said softly. I can do the dishes. Van can do everything else. I can? Van asked. Yes, you can, Cheyenne hissed. It's a little housework compared to Mom finding her soulmate. Reba looked at them, her family, her beautiful, chaotic, exhausting family. She looked at the laptop screen, where a man named Ted was smiling, a generic, digital smile. I do need something, Reba admitted, her voice dropping to a whisper. See? Barbara Jean cheered. And I know what it is. Starts with an L, ends in an E, has an O and a V, rhymes with dove. Laundry? Van guessed. Love, Barbara Jean screamed. Reba ignored them, her mind already spinning. She didn't want love. She wanted the one thing that was rarer than a perfect match in the city of Houston. She wanted silence. Fine, Reba said, a plan forming in the back of her mind. I'll go on the date, but if he's a crazy person, I'm billing you for the therapy. Chapter 3. The Art of the Disappearing Act. The date was set for Tuesday night. To the rest of the world, or at least the world within the 4 walls of the Hart residence, Reba was preparing for a romantic encounter with a mystery man from the internet. She spent an hour in the bathroom, the shower running, the scent of expensive perfume wafting under the door. In reality, Reba was sitting on the edge of the bathtub, reading a paperback thriller and eating a sleeve of crackers she'd hidden in the vanity. Mom? You ready? Cheyenne knocked on the door. Mr. Wonderful is waiting. Reba stood up, smoothed her skirt, and checked her reflection. She looked good. She looked like a woman who was going to meet the love of her life. She felt like a woman who was about to pull off the greatest heist in history, stealing 4 hours of her own life back. I'm coming, Reba called out. She walked out into the living room, where the entire family had gathered like they were watching a space shuttle launch. Even Brock was there, leaning against the mantel with a look of feigned indifference that fooled absolutely no one. "You look nice, Reba," Brock said, his voice a mix of genuine compliment and lingering possessiveness. "A little much for coffee, isn't it?" "It's not just coffee, Brock. It's a latte," Reba said, winking at Van. "Wish me luck." As the door clicked shut behind her, Reba didn't head for the trendy coffee shop Barbara Jean had suggested. She headed for the public library. She spent 3 glorious hours in the back corner of the history section. No one asked her where their socks were. No one asked her to settle a dispute about the remote control. No one called her Mom or Mrs. H. It was better than any date she'd ever been on. When she returned home, she made sure to look slightly flushed. "How was it?" Barbara Jean pounced before Reba could even get her coat off. "Oh, it was wonderful," Reba lied, her heart giving a small, guilty twinge that she quickly suppressed. "We talked for hours. He's a poet, very deep." "A poet?" Barbara Jean gasped. "Oh, Reba, I knew it. I'm a Cupid. I'm a genius." For the next week, the ruse continued. Reba went on dates 3 times. One night, she went to a late-night movie by herself and sat in the back row with a large popcorn, reveling in the fact that she didn't have to share a single kernel. Another night, she simply drove to a park and watched the stars. The house had never been cleaner. Cheyenne and Van, desperate to keep the romance alive, had taken over the chores. The laundry was folded, the dishes were put away, and Jake was even doing his homework without being threatened with a loss of internet privileges. Reba was a survivor, and right now, she was surviving better than she ever had. Chapter 4. The Detectives. "I don't buy it," Van said, leaning over a pile of unfolded laundry in the middle of the living room. Cheyenne looked up from her magazine. "Buy what, Van? The laundry is done. Life is good." "No." Van shook his head. His eyes narrowed. "Mrs. H. She's too happy. And she won't tell us his name. She won't show us a picture. She won't let him come to the house." "Maybe she's just being private," Cheyenne suggested. Or maybe, a voice interrupted from the hallway. It was Jake. He was holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Maybe there is no guy." "Jake, don't be cynical," Barbara Jean said, walking in with a tray of snacks. "Reba is in love. She told me she had coffee with his photo this morning." "I checked her phone," Jake said flatly. He held up a receipt from a local bookstore. The date and time matched Reba's second date. "She's catting around," Van whispered, horrified, but with herself. "We have to know the truth," Barbara Jean said, her eyes narrowing. "For her own good. If she's lying, she's shutting down emotionally. I've seen this before. I have a DVD of The Way We Were. We need to watch it 3 times to understand the complexity of the female psyche." "No," Cheyenne said, standing up. "We don't need Barbara Streisand. We need a stakeout." "I have a plan," Van said, his voice dropping an octave. "We call her Cell. We record the background noise. We have it analyzed by a restaurant sound expert. Bam, we got him." "Or," Cheyenne said, grabbing her keys, "we just follow her tonight." Chapter 5. Petit Jacques. Reba sat at a small, candle-lit table at Petit Jacques, a French bistro that was far enough away from her neighborhood to feel like another planet. She had a glass of red wine, a thick novel, and a plate of escargot she was actually looking forward to trying. This was the pinnacle of her dating career. The ultimate me time. "Can I buy you some dinner to go with that wine?" Reba looked up. A man was standing by her table. He was roughly her age, with kind eyes and a smile that looked like it had seen its fair share of life's ironies. "Oh, no thanks," Reba said quickly, her defensive instincts kicking in. "Well, I am, sort of, but not really. But, thanks, but no." The man chuckled. "Something tells me you're going to have a hard time deciding on an entree if you're that conflicted about a conversation." "I'm just enjoying my own company," Reba explained, gesturing to her book. "A rare and noble pursuit," the man said, nodding. "I'll leave you to it." He turned to walk away, but at that exact moment, the front door of the restaurant burst open. Reba's heart plummeted into her stomach. Standing in the doorway, looking like a low-budget version of the FBI, were Van, Cheyenne, and Barbara Jean. Brock was trailing behind them, looking deeply uncomfortable.